Thank you everyone for coming to this fall town hall. And this will just be in a series of town halls that we'll regularly keep doing between myself and the Dean and other members of the SLC team and the Vice Dean team to try to keep the whole Schulich community up to speed with where we're going with our future strategic directions and implementation of our elements of our operational review and various aspects of our organization. So thanks everyone for coming in and giving an hour of your time during a really busy time of the year. Like I said, this morning I'll take you through, here's today's agenda items. I'll take you through our achievements and accomplishments during the last 12 months, and there are many. We've accomplished a great deal in that time. And I think it's important that we actually recognize those things, because it's very easy during this current climate to not think about all the good things everyone has done and how much the school has done. And so we're going to go over that and do that as well. Second, I'll give you some information on our budget update and some work that's being done in the project management office and where we're going with that. And then just referring us back to the strategic plan, because I think it's critical that we all keep that in the forefront of our minds. At the end, there'll be adequate time for questions. It's the first time is it our first time? First time that we've tried live streaming as well. So this is being live streamed to our colleagues who are at other sites. So welcome to all of you on the live stream as well out there in our Schulich community. And so we'll see how that goes. And I think if there's any questions from the live stream, they'll come in through David and Jen and Shannon, and they'll repeat the person's question, and then I'll try to answer it. And I'll do that the best I can for all the any questions that happen. So. Like I said, there's many new accomplishments, so I'll touch base on the elements of these four, but it is definitely not limited to the ones that I'm speaking to here this morning. There is a long, long list of accomplishments that I could list and spend the whole hour talking about. So that should show everyone that we're doing very well in a number of areas, and that should be kept at the forefront of our minds. So just a couple. Something that's often we are more and more looking at, and that's because industry is more and more looking at it, and our business partners are more and more looking at it. But we are making headway in the Times and the Globe rankings. They're in those two rankings, which are universal rankings. We're making some headway. We're improving year to year. And as for the Times, which is the biggest universal rankings, we're about 147 in there somewhere. But that is out of 10,000 universities. So you have to understand, that's very, very good. We're in the top part of the world in what we do. So everybody should be very, very proud of where we work and what we've accomplished. And it takes every single person, no matter who you are, professor to anyone in any job, in any cubicle here. Without everybody's support, we couldn't be improving in this area. So we should all pat ourselves on the back. We've done well, and we can do better, and we will focus on that in the future. Fundraising success. We have the development team here in the front here. And again, in 11-12, raised significant a number of funds, $13.3 million. That is not insignificant. That is a lot of money. And tireless effort from the team, but as well as our faculty who are engaged with them, and many of our administrative officers who also engage in that activity alongside the development team helping. So it's a team effort, and as you see from the second bullet, we're well on our way this year to even a larger number of $17 million. It's a big target, and I know they're working around the clock to help with that. And again, it takes all our support to support that endeavor, but we should be very proud of that accomplishment from that team. New internal funding for research and awards. The Dean's Clinical Research Competition, it's year 1. That's now available. We have the Schulich PhD stipends that are in place. We have Schulich MSc and PhD conversion stipends, which now are in place, and all those elements are have been put in place to support the academic mission and drive the research and graduate studies mandate. So very important strategically that we've made those investments, and those things are now in place with the hard work of all of our basic chairs and Dr. Watson's team working tirelessly over the last year to try to put those things in place with the help of our finance team and Cindy Servos and her team. Internationalization. Recently, you may have seen in our last month or so the communication regarding our appointment of Dr. John Denstead to this very special role called the Special Advisor to the Dean, and focuses on internationalization efforts, areas of China, where Dr. Denstead and Dr. Strong just came back from the past week in meetings with the provost and the president. And then meetings in September that myself and a group of colleagues, John Rishi is included, along with the Dean and Dr. Denstead, went to Saudi Arabia and had a number of meetings there as well, and then into Brazil. I'll speak to the importance of this in future slides. Needless to say, again, something that we can be proud of, Western is well known in these areas, almost better known in our own country, which is an interesting dynamic, but we had very successful meetings in both of those countries. Realignment of our technology teams. As you know, there's been some changes over the last 2 to 3 months in our technology area. I want to thank that team for hanging in there, doing some ups and downs. Hasn't been an easy last 2 months, but as you know, on an interim basis, Sergio has come in and done a fantastic job, very positive, and we are working, he and his team are working closely with Dale and the project management team, and we'll work to continue to strive to structure the organization in order to help us meet our objectives in the short term and in the long term. I'd like to thank everyone for their patience as we make these adjustments in that area. Please lend support to Sergio as he moves us through this next step in our phase of our development as a school. A number of accomplishments, you can see them all there, undergrad studies. A significant amount of money transferred through revenue sharing. Up to 260 graduate students awards, approximately $3.3 million worth of awards. 5 of 8 universities Vanier scholarships in our programs, and there's the individuals that won those. That is not insignificant. We should again all be proud of that accomplishment. That is no small accomplishment there, that 5 of 8 are our staff and our students. A couple of more. We had our first dual PhD student, and in September, and we have gotten off the ground our pathologies assistance program, which was approved, and the students enrolled. Again, very important that I'm pointing out these new programs because that is the way to the future of to give the students the best choices, the most novel opportunities for them to align their careers in the future endeavors. So things like the Pathologies Assistance Program, it's not something that's being offered all around the world, all around the country. There's only 1 or 2 or 3 programs like that in the entire country. So it's significant that our school is the one delivering this program. Same thing with the other programs that you see on the list. CAMPEP, the Collaborative Program of Musculoskeletal, the Department of Surgery's Master's Program, which is going through the process now, which again is a very novel program. Very few of them in the world, again, in the country again, which is another feather in our hat. The MSc in Basic Science is approved for this fall, and the new program in Health Technology Assessment is under development. So again, those are all very exciting things. Those again are not insignificant pieces of work. Takes tons of time from the individuals that are a part of it, and will help us strategically differentiate us from our competitors/colleagues. Of course, there's many others. I want to just point out specifically the establishment of the MPH program, which is again a very important initiative for the school and the dean, and actually all the way to the president's office. It again differentiates us from others, and allows us to teach the MPH program in another way, but also gives us a different research, strategic research avenues to align ourselves with, which will help us in the future with our research mandate. Research, we had many big things happen. I'm just pointing out a few, some that were just recently in the newspapers as in the last 2 weeks, I believe, the top one. The HIV work, big accomplishments all over the world. Everywhere in the world got that, had pieces of this story. And again, that is a very important thing for a school because it will help us in the future attract the best students, the best faculty, and the best staff. I won't go through them all, but you can see there are many very highly rated pieces of work that's being done. Once again, just more pieces of work that have been accomplished by our faculty. Again, it's a team approach. Only can accomplish these things, the faculty members, if they have a large team of people behind them and a support network behind them. And so again, it's a school accomplishment as well as individual faculty accomplishment. In education, it's been a really busy time recently. I'm sure Leslie is happy it's over, but or she's in the middle of it, I guess is what I should say. We had the interim undergraduate medical education accreditation review, which Leslie and the undergraduate team just came through, and they will take the findings from the reviewers and make adjustments to be ready for the final accreditation in some 17, 18 months, Leslie, to be ready for that. But again, this is a huge undertaking, and Leslie and her team and everyone that supports the team needs to be acknowledged for a tremendous amount of work that the accreditation takes. Transitioned all the MD program course material to the new Sakai system. Again, that's no small endeavor. It sounds easy, but it takes hundreds of hours for people to do this. And again, very important accomplishment. Development of our new Learner and Equity and Wellness and Student Affairs and Equity Office. Again, this came out of previous accreditation standards, and in order to show that the school has been responsive to those accreditation standards, this new office was established. A tremendous amount of work went in, again, with John Rishi and and Pam Beer and Kathy and many others, and all the faculty to support that the development of that office. Again, no small task, and well done on accomplishing it in a timely fashion. And then launched another novel thing that we've done, launched a comprehensive and longitudinal study on tracking the medical graduates from the school. Again, an important thing, because data is going to be the thing that is one of the most important things in the future when we try to prove to the government and to others why we're the ones the funding should be coming to. Again, it's many others, the joint teaching retreat hosted by the Department of Family Medicine. Online application process for the faculty appointments is now live, and postgraduate accreditation is complete, and we're awaiting those results. Again, that last one sounds easy. I just rolled it off the tongue, but it was like a year's worth of work for an entire team under Dr. Watling and Maureen Morris and the rest of John's support network and Dr. Garcia's support team to support all the work that happened to get us through that stage. We're positive about what those results will be, and we will pay attention to if there's any elements of the recommendations that we have to put in place over the next few years to comply with the postgraduate accreditation. Another large accomplishment is the development of the communications and marketing aspect of our school. This was a strategic direction. Actually, it's number 6, if many of you have memorized them, but I know many of you have not. But a very important aspect of our school, and a big challenge for our school, is doing this, what I'm doing right now. How do you communicate to 4,000 people when they're spread across from Owen Sound all the way to Windsor? And how do you do that in an effective way when many of our colleagues don't even work on our campus? Huge challenge, and has come up in my whole tenure, and the dean's, in Michael's whole tenure, as a massive challenge that we're trying to rectify. We're going to use many ways of doing it. One of them was a strategic choice by our senior leadership committee and the dean himself to invest resources in this area, because we felt if we couldn't reach our people and you couldn't explain to your people what was going on, how could you actually even think of developing a cohesive organization when it's so spread across all this large territory and so distributed throughout the region? So you'll see a great deal of that effort is being done by Jen and her team. They've done a ton of work early on, a huge amount of accomplishment right off the bat. And so things that have happened, new visual identity for us, branding and alignment to the Western brand. We are not just Schulich, we are Western, we're the university, and that's where we all work. So doing that. We now have a full team in place with a number of highly skilled people in very specific roles. And that team is here to support our entire endeavor across Schulich. So I encourage you in your offices to contact them if you should have any projects or any opportunities you'd like them to look at. Increased communication and creation of new materials. A lot of time has been spent on that. Here's just a few. Some of them the dean and I and John and others used on our travels to the Middle East and to China and to Brazil. And I must tell you, got rave reviews on this material. It's very progressive and interesting, and relevant is an important word. So really good pieces of work being done, and not without a tremendous amount of effort again. Just some other social responsibility accomplishments, because I think it's important that a medical and dental school should be socially responsible. And I'm glad to see, and I'm really happy to see the accomplishments that we've had in this area. And again, this is only 3. There's many people in this room and throughout the organization who are doing things on their own or with a couple of people within their offices, doing many, many other things to help our communities and our society at large. So just a couple, and I'd like to thank Dinah and the rest of the team and Kathy Wallace and the whole team. There's a team of individuals that have been challenged to help try to identify these opportunities. And so the Reforest London tree planting in the spring 2012, very successful. I'd like to acknowledge the work that Matt Wannen has done and the whole team of people that work with you, right, Matt? On huge success in the United Way, from stair climbs to the Tim Hortons to the donuts to everything else that we've done. We are one of the primary sponsors of the United Way, and we have accomplished a great deal. And I must tell you, I sit on one of the board committees of the United Way, and it is acknowledged the work that not only just Western, but actually specific to our school, that our school accomplishes in this regard. And it doesn't go unnoticed. And the people at that board are people from all over the community in fairly high-ranking positions sitting around those board tables, and they see the effort that we've put to be a socially responsible institution. So again, huge accomplishment, much thanks to Matt and everyone else who participates in these things. It's really important. Coming up, I'm trying to figure out, Dinah, when's the bus to move? Okay, so this is another activity. Dinah, in fact, is leading for the city the sponsorship program, but the whole team would love to be sponsored. And again, another interesting, novel way of raising funds to help our city and the people that need help in our city. So really important. And thank you everyone who participates in those activities. Recently, in the past 6 months, we had awards and recognition for our organization. And I'm just going to show you the slides. But again, we have tremendous faculty and staff in this organization, and it should not go unnoticed. And it's not trivial that we have this much talent amongst us. So just take a minute to just see the names, because it's important that we see our colleagues. Some of them in this room. Some of the awards at the international and national level, again, showing the types of people that we have working with us and beside us. Again, not trivial, those accomplishments. New appointments. We have, in the last year, appointed a new Vice Dean Research and Innovation, Dr. Figelwitz. She's here. She's putting her hand up for those of you in Windsor. And so recognize Dr. Figelwitz, and she's working very hard and hit the ground running, I would say, in her new role. Associate Dean Admissions, Dr. Hammond. Vice Dean Basic Sciences is a new role, which is in progress, very, very, very early days on that. Chairs, the Kirkley Chair, Dr. Holsworth completed. Hannah Chair, History of Medicine, Dr. Shelley McKellar. Rorabek Chair, and Barnett in progress, but it is funded. Again, these things just roll off my tongue, but the amount of work put in to actually establish these appointments, to make the work happen, to establish the chairs, the amount of work to do that is not trivial. CRC chairs, Again, as you see the list there, these are new appointments there. Our basic science chairs, some reappointments, and some acting positions with Dr. Singh in microbiology, immunology. Chair chief roles. I don't see too many chair chiefs in the room today. They might be on the stream, I don't know. But again, significant movement in that area because terms came due. And again, not trivial the amount of work that has to go on in this area. And a great deal of effort in our offices to actually make these things happen. And the postgraduate director of wellness has been completed. Again, some other big accomplishments and big resources spent in these areas for strategic reasons. In our facilities. Now, all of you know the facilities is a major, major challenge in our organization. And these items that you see before you have been strategically invested in order to at least give us some capacity to move ahead. Again, not trivial. The physiology and pharmacology and ACB teaching labs are complete. Absolutely stunning, beautiful labs. I don't know if anybody's been up there, but really top-notch, beautiful facilities. I really like to thank the work done by Jane and Kevin's team and everybody else on the Phys Farm team for pulling it off. It was a huge endeavor, took up hours of their time to pull this off. So no small achievement again. But very, very important to the strategic importance for our teaching and research mandate, specifically in our impacting on our BMSC program. The biomedical labs complete, and that was the MedBio program labs, also done with Laura Groom. Again, working very closely with Kevin to make sure that that the labs are built in a timely fashion and within budget, which is very difficult these days to do. As you know, the Windsor program continues to thrive and grow in Windsor. And with that has come a third floor being completed. It was shelled in originally. And working with our colleagues at the University of Windsor, now that third floor is done, and the completion of the 3D virtual anatomy lab also complete. Western Center for Public Health and Family Medicine. You may or may not know, our building, I think it's a 5-story building, on the 4-story building, on the corner of Westminster and Richmond. You can see it being built. It's near the baseball diamond as you enter that corner. Now the corner is a bit dangerous, so don't look at the building while you're at that corner. But it's going to be a very important place, as that is going to house our new Masters of Public Health program, as well as the Center for Family Medicine. And family medicine will be moving its academic endeavors over to the first 2 floors of that building when it's complete. It's scheduled to be completed September 2013. Kevin and I are very hopeful that that happens. Hopefully we have a winter that allows it to be completed on time. We're within a couple of weeks of it being one way or the other, so we're fairly confident that that will get done. And then a very new project that just got underway for our colleagues in dentistry. And again, another novel thing that not very many places will have in our country is GA surgical suites. Now that sounds like nothing, but what it is that we're developing 2 actual OR suites in the dental hospital area. These are not procedure rooms. These are actual OR suites, and it will be to handle cases from children from marginalized populations, to help them with some very serious oral surgical maxillofacial surgical requirements that those children need. And again, it comes to speak to our social responsibility and the role we play in our community and the region at large when it comes to taking care of and caring for that people from that population. So as you can see, tremendous accomplishments around the school, and so everyone should be congratulated on that. So now to get to the budget discussion. So quickly, these are the issues that I'll touch base on regarding the budget. First, I just wanted to thank everyone for the tireless effort in putting together the budgets through the budget process. This is time-consuming, sometimes frustrating, especially when we don't have all the information at hand. And I'd like to personally thank everyone in the organization who's had their hands in this now for 3 weeks, many of you, 3-4 weeks, and will for the next couple of weeks as well, working with myself and Cindy and the dean. But I'd like to thank everyone for their efforts in getting us through the budget process. Specifically, I'd like to thank Cindy and her team. Again, huge amounts of work goes into to developing the budget for the school. So it's the 3rd year of a 4-year budget planning cycle. I'm going to point out some economic realities that I think we have to consider when thinking about where we're going to be going. First, I think it's not news to anyone, but we have challenging economic environment out there right now. It's in the newspapers every day. It's in CBC, CTV. It's on every news channel. It's on your radio. It's challenging times out there right now in all sectors, private and public. And it doesn't appear that any one country is immune to what's going on. Significant uncertainty on the future investment by governments at all levels, and that's for all public sector related activities. Right now we have a number of colleagues who are in the clinical side of the house, and I can tell you they're feeling and seeing the impacts of adjustments that the hospitals, our teaching hospitals, have had to make and are making as we speak. We are not immune to that as a university. We are probably 6 months behind where the hospitals are as a university. That's all. Mandated to become more efficient and effective. It's absolute now mandated by the government, and they're putting significant pressure on anyone in a leadership position in the public health sector, specifically in health and in the university and teaching, even teaching at the primary health, primary school level. And we all know that from, again, just pick up any newspaper any day. And so tremendous pressure being put on the system right now. A shift in public perception, which is an important piece. Taxpayers are not so much wanting to go over the 45%. If people of Canada and Ontario are saying that's enough. They don't want to be taxed anymore. And that's a fact, and they're stating that, and they're going to vote that way. And they're using their voices to do that. By the way, we're taxpayers too. And so there is a different mood out there amongst the public, around the public sector. They feel that we can do more with less, and that we should be more efficient and effective in our jobs. And that's the expectation. Again, it just lends to my next bullet point. Focus on accountability framework. There is a massive shift to this being the primary focus of the public sector and the government's expectations of the public sector institutions. We're being held at an accountability level that I have not seen. Now, I don't know, my career is about 10 or 12 years, but I've not seen anything like what we're looking at as in now. There is, every day almost becomes more increased accountability. With the accountability, why that's an important one is that there is a huge push for more and more data to prove what you're doing, to show that you're achieving the things with the public funds that you're supposed to be achieving. More and more push into that area, and more expectations on all of us to deliver within that framework. And so that's impacting and influencing everything we do and all the decisions that we make. Increased competition for existing and limited funds. I used to think that I went into the public sector and didn't go and follow my colleagues after I finished school into the private sector because I thought, come to the university sector, the public sector. It's not as ruthless as the private sector. And, that's the life will be good that way. That is not the case today. I would actually put our environment against any private environment right now for competition, straight up. I think we're just as ruthless and just as much competition now in between amongst universities and institutions. There are limited funds out there, and everybody wants those limited funds. It doesn't matter if you're University of Toronto, Calgary, Dalhousie, McGill, McMaster, everyone's going after the same money. So it is all-out competition right now. Although it's more collegial than the private sector, I would say. Don't kid yourself. It is a significant competition out there right now. And you only ask our colleagues that work in the distributed medical education side of the business, and they will tell you straight up the amount of competition that's out there right now amongst the university partners. Even for our colleagues in Windsor, they can tell you the same story. It's huge amounts of competition out there for the limited resources that we can access. So it's very important that we're positioned as an organization to be able to compete. A renewed focus on finding new funding streams. As I stated in a few slides ago, many of the senior team and myself and the dean and others are spending a great deal of time trying to drum up business to come to Western and to our school. The days of the money walking through these beautiful, beautiful gates that we have on this campus are gone. That's not going to happen any longer. The money's not walking through the gate. We have to aggressively go and get it. And we have to put ourselves out there, and we're not going to win all the time because the world is competing for those funds as well. But I believe we have what it takes to compete at that level. And it's only shown by our efforts in the Middle East and Saudi Arabia and Qatar and other places, and the efforts in China and now in really starting in Brazil, where I believe that we have a great opportunity in those areas to do partnership arrangements and collaborative arrangements with institutions who want our collaboration. They want to be aligned with the best schools in Canada and the best schools in the world, and that's who we are. So they want to be aligned with us. So a great deal of money and time has been put into this because there are very few other revenue streams available to us, to the public sector. And this is one area where we can compete. So next steps, the dean and I and Cindy have to go and do a presentation to the provost and the executive team on December the 10th. We still have a ton of writing to do. Many of you are still helping, sending pieces in. So I please ask those of you that have not been able to get your pieces into myself and Cindy, please get them in. In that budget will be requesting a number of things from our university colleagues to help our school move ahead strategically, because the university's world's changed as well. So again, it's a partnership between ourselves and our university at large, and the whole document, in fact, almost 60 to 100 pages. I think I'm on page 60 as we speak in writing the document, is with a vision to try to align all our strategies and our funding streams in a way that repositions us for the future to compete, as well as to achieve an ongoing achievement of the things that we, of our mandate. It'll be reviewed, then implemented. A quick update on the PMO, the work that's being done in the PMO area, because I know that that's been on the forefront of people's minds, and hence I put it up here so you can ask questions after of myself, and I'll do the best to answer those questions, but I'll take you quickly through a few slides in this area. Just quickly for you, to acknowledge the team members. Again, tireless work being done by these three individuals with the leadership of Dale Shelley as the director, and Vita Windrum and Lori Matheson, who's graciously come over to help us from her post in imaging to help Dale and the team and help push our mandate in this area. Very important to know that we will do this in an iterative way. It has been iterative, and I will show you signs of that. Purpose of the role, purpose and role of the PMO office. I think it's important to just bring you back to this and ground you why we're doing this. Address critical business issues to achieve increased efficiencies across the school, because we need to do so, as I spoke to in previous slides. Coordinate evidence-based metrics, because we need to make decisions based on evidence. It can't be made just on subjective view. I think we owe it to the organization and to each and one of us that we use evidence to make decisions. We are a place of higher learning where we have professoriate who have spent their whole life based on trying to find the evidence to make decisions and to help society. We should be doing no different on the operational side and management side and the financial side of the business. We should be using evidence to make decisions. We are relatively naive in our metrics capacity in the organization, so we are going to spend a lot of time on developing those metrics because we need them. We need accurate data to make decisions. Again, not something we've had historically in our organization, but it's something we are going to invest in and put time in, again, because data will help us compete in the future, and we need that data. Coordinate the evidence-based metrics, another important role. Again, right now we have it in pockets all over the place. We need to have that in a coordinated fashion. So that's one of the purposes. Lead a change management process. Dale and her team are reviewing areas throughout the organization. The whole organization will be done in the next 2 to 3 years. And the idea is that we will do a systematic change process throughout the organization in a systematic way. Oversee end-to-end project delivery. This is another important one because many projects start off and then never end. And they never have a point where we can actually start measuring again if the first project was useful and what were the outcomes of making those changes. That's not going to happen here because Dale and her team are going to make sure that they keep following up, and we're gonna go end to end on these projects. Now I must tell you, it has not been easy to do this because this is fairly new to the university. Never mind to our school. We are working on a very traditional university, one of the oldest universities in the country. And with that comes a pace of change that's acceptable, let's just say that. And we as a school, I would say, are pushing extremely hard to help guide our university into a new way of thinking, and a new way of looking at processes, various processes on the campus. And we're working very diligently, and Dale is doing so as we speak, on a daily basis, to work with our colleagues across the road here, with our central offices in the areas of human resource, finance, and administration. And so would I say that we're going as quickly as Dale and I dreamed? No. But we are moving. We are making incremental day-to-day change. And we will continue to drive that mandate. We feel that since we're about 60% of this university, we feel we have that capacity to do that and to influence the system at large, and that's what we're doing. Partnering closely with IT, because again, information technology and anything that helps us communicate and move or gather data is critical to our success in the future. Update on the activity. Timeline is over the next few years, 3 years. We started, Dale started in what was called the Dean's office, and I will put quotes around that, because even the day I got here, I was kind of thinking the Dean's office is this massive thing. And we're looking at that. She started there. Plan to review all the Schulich and medicine dentistry administration activities throughout the organization, as I stated before. To date, and this again is no trivial matter, what's been accomplished in this office already. Some 75 interviews completed with the medical education through London and Windsor. 17 interviews completed with the IS team. 5 interviews completed with communication and marketing and media relations. 2 interviews completed with facilities. Facilitated 8 workshops with the basic and clinical AOs, standardizing position descriptions and defining needs for hospital authority. Again, no easy task. That's ongoing. That one will continue to be ongoing. Facilitated workshop to redesign the staff and hiring and recruiting process, which launched in December 2012. Significant improvement has been made there already. But again, more work to be done with our colleagues across the street to even better the timing that we wanted out of that process review. And so we are going to endeavor to push that agenda even harder. But improvement has been made. 3 interviews completed with our front office, the front office staff in the Dean's area, and created draft templates for projects and standard operating procedures. Again, standard operating procedures were, again, I would say, naive in our organization. They were only in very specific areas that were ahead in those areas. If you're a lab-based or finance-based and some HR, you probably had standard operating procedures because you had to, because of accreditation and safety standards you had to meet. But otherwise, the organization still has a heck of a lot of work to do on the standard operating procedures side of the business. And so Dale's team's going to drag us through doing that because it's painstaking work doing that. There's no easy way to do that work. Again, I'd like to thank everyone that participated in all those interviews and information sessions with Dale and her team, because again, it's going to take all of us together to make this happen and make these changes happen. This cannot happen in isolation of any one team, any one person. There's no way the Dean and I can achieve these things without the help of all of you. There's just no chance. So we have to do it together. Strategic plan, just to reacquaint people with it. Recently in a survey, I got some data that said that if I walked down the hallway of our school, I probably couldn't get many people to quote me what the 6 pieces of the strategic plan were. So that's a reality, and Dean and I have to face that reality. It shows that we have to communicate better, and we haven't done a good enough job in that area. So Again, I'm putting them back on the screen for you to see, to refer to them. I don't know, Jen, did we bring any handouts for this group? But they're online, and I'll give you the URL for this again. I encourage people to go to it because all the decisions we're making at the senior leadership committee level and at the chair chief and the chair level are strategically focused on achieving these 6 areas. Again, this can be found. I had Jen and Shannon put it on the web page so you can see. It's actually on the web page. All you have to do is click where the arrow is on the web page, and you'll see the strategic plan, the fulsome document that's there. There's a lot of good material in it. I encourage you all to make yourselves aware of it because it will help you understand why we may be making some choices that you may not understand when you're sitting at your desk. And I encourage you all to take the time, take the 20 minutes, 30 minutes to run through it at your leisure. Significant progress in a number of key areas, including but not limited to enriching a focus of our research and enhancing our core facilities. We've again invested in research, and Dr. Figlewitz and Maddie and the team are working very hard to position our organization to be competitive in the research arena today and in the future. This is no small task. So significant effort going into that part of our organization. Dr. Figlewitz and Maddie will work to establish the strategic direction. They have a strategic white paper before Dr. Figlewitz joined us. And I know that she will take that document as well as her own thoughts and help guide our organization to where we need to get to. And I would ask that we all support them in their endeavor to do that because it has to be team-based again. This cannot be just a dependency on Dr. Figlewitz alone and Maddie alone. It has to be the entire organization helping because this is a very important piece to our sustainability in our future as one of the very top university medical and dental schools in the world. So you need academic research output. As you saw from the slides before, we have colleagues around us who can accomplish great things, and they have. And there's many more colleagues that need our support to help them continue to do this great work. So I encourage all of us to help with that endeavor. Establishing the MPH program, again, no easy feat. Starting something that big from scratch has been a tremendous challenge, and it's taken a number of chairs in the basic sciences to help us, and chairs on chair chiefs on the clinical side, and all the administrative officers, and teams of administrators and support people to help get this to this point. We're very hopeful, and we've had very good feedback. Janelle's here, Andy's left, but the students are excited, I believe, Janelle, by this opportunity to get into the Masters in Public Health program. I believe there's a huge marketplace there, especially the way we want to teach it through a case-based approach, which is very novel for this kind of a program. And I think it'll be highly competitive to get in, and I'm really hopeful that it just takes off with wings in September. A lot of effort being put in there. Establishing a Southwestern Ontario Academic Health Sciences Network. I believe, Kay, I think Dr. Steele and you are now calling this SWAN, and is the acronym. And this, again, no small endeavor, but Dr. Steele and Kay and a number of our staff have begun tireless work with our colleagues in the hospital, in our teaching hospital, to work to establishing a regional-wide academic network. Again, why is that important? It's important because it positions us as the middle of that, and aligns us with all these other big institutions around us that we have to partner with anyways, to align us so we can perform at a higher rate if we're doing so not in isolation but together. And I guess that's a really big, you're going to hear me saying it over and over, this collaboration, this bringing people together. All of the institutions across Southwestern Ontario, many of them have now come to the same realization that we have, that we can't succeed anymore in isolation as one entity. We have to group our skills and strengths together and gather ourselves together so we can compete against the whole world and the nation and the province. And if we can pull ourselves together, it avails us of opportunities that we wouldn't have had if we were in isolation. So that's the reason for really pushing this mandate. It'll give us new research capacity, should give us new educational opportunities for faculty and our students, and potentially new resources, and potentially we can become very attractive to industry because they may want to do work with such a nice consolidated group of expertise across a large region. So the idea is to do this. A great deal of work left to be done. This is pulling a lot of people together that aren't used to being together in that way. So a lot of work being done in the first year and a bit, and much more work to be done. But again, something we need to support Dr. Steele and Kay, and as they move our organization ahead in this area. And then the brand alignment has been a significant challenge, I would say, as it seems to be changing, and it was late in the game. The university had made changes, and Jen came in, good or not good, right when the brand was being introduced by Western. And Jen and the team have done a great job in getting us up to speed on our branding. We've got a lot of work to do still. And I appreciate everyone's patience with regards to the branding. It's not an easy thing because I know many of you need stuff right on the go and would like to get your materials out. So I appreciate your patience in that. And my hope is that you continue to work with Jen and her team to get the appropriate advice. So next steps, continued focus on key initiatives. Formal review in the spring to track achievements to date, incorporate the financial thrust, and refine our tactics and metrics. That means our strategic plan, those 6 items. In the spring, the Dean is committed to having another, we will have a retreat of a number of our leadership. And at that retreat, we will align our financial metrics with the 6 goals and objectives that are pointed out in the strategic plan. And as well, we will start to refine our metrics because it comes down to how do you measure. There's a lot of things you think you can measure, but not all of them are relevant. And the difficult piece is picking the right metrics to actually measure what you actually need to know. That sounds like it should be an easy thing to do, but believe me, it is not. Picking those. And we don't want 3,000 metrics. We want, 6, 10, 12 metrics, something that we all can understand. From that process will be the development of a formal strategic management tool called a balanced scorecard. Some of you may or may not have heard that word before. It is not new. It was established by Kaplan and Norton at Harvard Business School. It is a strategic tool to align all levels of an organization to the strategic plan and the metrics to make sure that everyone is pointing in the same direction. It doesn't matter what level you are in the organization. In an organization so disparate as ours and so spread out, this is a key thing for us to do because as we learned in surveys, not everyone actually knows all the different what we're trying to achieve in the organization. It will be critical that each department have their own strategic measures, but all leading to the overarching strategic metrics that are being placed in the balanced scorecard for the whole organization. That will be out front of everyone at each of your team meetings and at your departmental meetings. And the hope is that will align and inform everyone in the organization about what we're trying to achieve. and focus everyone. It focuses everyone on achieving these goals, and it gives us something visual that we can see. It helps us make course correction. It helps us pat ourselves on the back when we're doing a good job. So it's really important that we do that. So again, just a quick definition. There's hundreds of these definitions, and so you'll see more work being done on that. So next steps will be to further educate ourselves on the process. This is not an easy thing to do, the balanced scorecard process. We are still very early days. The senior team, SLC, and the senior administrative committee, comprised of the directors group, are continue to update and educate ourselves in this area. We will use benchmark with our hospital partners who have actively been using balanced scorecards for years, in fact, in the hospital sector. Like I said, the SAC, or Senior Administrative Committee, will make recommendations on a process to the Senior Leadership Committee in the future months. SLC will establish the timelines, and a number of training and workshops opportunities will be made available to all of us in relation to what a balanced scorecard is, what does it do, how does it work, and what's your role in the scorecard. Just to finish up, Awards of Excellence, May 15th, 2013 in the Great Hall, just to remind everyone. Nominations forms available in the coming weeks. I would encourage people to vote and to nominate people. It is important that we recognize our colleagues and their efforts. It is critical that we do that because there's so much talent again in the room, and people are working tremendous hours to help us move the school ahead. And I think it's important that we recognize these individuals. So now I'll leave it to questions. Anyways. There's got to be some questions. Come on, Nancy. Nothing? Jen, we can put this online? Sure. Yeah. I have an open door policy. Many of you who know me well, to my detriment in some passes, but I have an open door policy, and I encourage you to come and ask questions, and encourage you to talk to the SLC members and to see the senior administrators, the director group, if you have questions. The dean and I are on a mandate of transparency. We have nothing to hide. It's all in front of you. We have done a lot of work, and Cindy's team is doing a lot of work to help us untangle things like our financing, so there's a more clear understanding of our financing and how things work and how money flows. And so a great deal of work is being done by Cindy's team and Rosemary, in fact, and a team of individuals working on activity-based management modeling. And they're working on that. Again, another addition to the balanced scorecard, and having our school have more precise information when it comes to how the funds flow and what activities are actually attached to that funding and what are the outcomes of that funding. And again, no easy task. It's going to take a year for them to actually accomplish that. But anyways, anybody online? No one has any questions? Please, this is the time to ask. Please, Patricia. Yeah, that's a really good question, and that's what we're learning during this educating ourselves right now.
Could you please buzz in and repeat the question? We didn't hear it in Windsor.
Sure. Patricia, push the button.
It's Tricia from Swillman, and I've worked in the hospital sector for several years, and we've always used the balanced scorecard, but unfortunately, it is something that the senior leadership would put out, but it wouldn't get inculcated into the day-to-day operations of the staff or the team. So there's kind of a dissonance between what is articulated is how we're going to measure ourselves and how we do it and how we incorporate that into our day-to-day lives. So I was asking in terms of, are there any strategies in place to move that forward?
Yeah. So, great question. And it's a question we've had for people that have come to educate us on the balanced scorecard. Huge challenge. A number of things we've seen will help us do that. So to start, we see us developing the overarching scorecard first, Patricia, and doing so. And then the following year, it's going to take 2 years to do this. This is a 2 to 3 year thing. This is not a do it in 5 minutes plan. It takes years to implement. The next step will be asking each department to establish their metrics specific to their departments, but that is done simultaneously with a workshop and education mandate, because if you don't, two of the main pitfalls are, if you don't educate all the levels of the organization, they won't be able to help, they won't understand what this scorecard is at the upper level and how they can make meaningful impact on those metrics. So a lot of time will have to be spent on establishing a training process, an education process for all the different layers of the organization. We have to indoctrinate it. From my reading, I've done a lot of reading on this, pitfalls, exactly what you said. You have to get that where it happens at every team meeting. There has to be a discussion for at least 15 to 20 minutes of every department or team meeting about where are we on our scorecard. And then also reminding yourself of what the overarching scorecard is. And people have to be held accountable, Patricia. So that will be at the manager level, up to the director level, up to the SAC level, up to the senior leadership committee. And that has to be both horizontal and vertical, and it has to be continuous, and people have to be held accountable to have that information and those discussions with their staff at every team meeting and every department-based meeting. If it doesn't happen at that level, it won't happen. It'll fail. And you'll be quite right. It'll be a waste of time and money.
Just a secondary comment to that is that that's good to hear, because often it's perceived or put forward as a business system. It's a change management process,
yeah.
And it's got to be aligned, so that's good, and thank you.
Yeah, thanks for bringing up a very good question. And no questions there in Windsor?
I don't think so.
No? None from you or anybody there? No?
None from me.
Okay.
Anybody? No. Thank you.
John?
So with, if everything goes according to plan and family medicine moves into the new building in 2013, could you comment on what might happen in the clinical skills building with an empty floor?
Sure. The plan is, and that's a big if we get, there's a number of dominoes that need to happen with regards to our space. And Kevin, just jump in if I'm misspeaking here. We are all waiting. It's a very, the Dean and I and Kevin are waiting for the HSA building right here to be handed over to us from our nursing colleagues, who will be moving to the old IV building, and once all the IV staff actually move over to the new IV building that has been built. So we're dependent on that renovation being done in the HSA so the nurses can get over there. We're told it's 2014-ish, 15-ish, Kevin? Okay, he's giving me the slanted eyebrow. Probably more 15, but I'm going to be hopeful that maybe halfway through 14, we'll get ownership of this whole tower and we will have the whole tower to ourselves. The idea is to centralize administration in this tower and consolidate the teams together again. Because I must tell you, I'm not jumping up and down about us all being spread out, teams being broken up, education portfolio being apart, our IT team not being together. members of our research team and our development team being in other buildings. I feel we need to be a consolidated administration, and so does the dean. And that goes for CME, CPD, and those groups as well, and dentistry. Our idea is to centralize those administrations in that tower. With that will become the clinical skills building will be vacated twice. Initially, once by the family medicine folks leaving the second floor, when their new building is ready over at the corner of Westminster and Richmond, and they will be moving there, which will open up that floor. The idea is to turn that clinical skills building into a actual clinical skills, world-class clinical skills simulation center. Again, repositioning our school for the future of education and where they're pushing education in the medical sciences and in areas like that. It'll be critical for us to do so. A number of our Middle East initiatives are actually linked to simulation and doing this kind of linkage that way and training from a distance and using clinical skills and simulation as a way to do that, even from a distance, even from thousands and thousands of miles apart, kilometers apart. So the idea is to do that, John, is to consolidate clinical skills simulation, not in isolation again from our colleagues that are out in the hospital sector or at Fanshawe or at Health Sciences, because the nurses have simulation as well. We have simulation through CSTAR in the hospital. Fanshawe has a significant dentistry and nursing simulation program. The idea is to complement each other on those things and build upon it. Again, should be attractive, Peter will like this, attractive to industry, because industry will like this. They can test new devices, they can do new things in these arenas that we didn't have the capacity to do before. So a lot of science can be done in those areas as well. So that will happen. The idea is to do that. That then should open up some space again to create some flexibility in the dental area because we'll be consolidating dental administration and open up space at the research park. Not that I want to actually pay more rent at the research park, but at least it opens up space and gives us some capacity for growth. Ultimately, one day, I think we're going to have to think about building a building, like an actual building. And the reason for that is right now there's very little degrees of freedom, and Dr. Roulette is here, and she can comment, but there is not a lot of room for new laboratories and space in our surroundings. And there's not a lot of space for the dentistry research as well. And the clinical science is more and more getting pushed back out of the hospitals, and at a request that that space be used for clinical care, and that that work be done in academic surroundings. So a lot of pressure on finding laboratory space for us so we can recruit talent to those new facilities. So that's the long answer, John. Very hopeful. At least we have some degrees of freedom. We have that plan in place. Let's hope it's faster than what Kevin thinks. Kevin's toning the dean and I down to more 2015, even though we keep pushing him, praying that it's going to be faster than that. But I think those are good things for us. Those are positive things that we'd all be together, working together. I think that's a good thing. I think it's been a long time where we've all been pulled apart as an administration. I think we need to be together. We'd be much more efficient and effective that way as well. And it will help us with our internal relationships with one another as well. If we are, around the corner from a colleague, and you can just go and tap them on the shoulder and talk to them that way. That's not so easy today in our environment today. So, other questions? Jane, is there anything we're missing from SLC that you thought we should say? Okay, well, thank you for coming. There'll be more of these. And please give me feedback if you have any, if you want to do that individually as well.